You're listening to the Superpower Up Podcast with your superpower experts. This is the place where we explore real-life superpowers and give you the tools to unlock your own.
Hello, everyone. This is Tonya Dawn Recla, your superpower expert, and I'm really excited to have with us today just a delightful guy. Jarrod L'Estrange got connected to us through Brock Bowen, so one of our faves over at Superpower Experts. Thank you, Brock. But Jarrod is a founder of the global movement Super Dads. He's out of Brisbane, Australia, with his wife and 3 young girls. And he's also an Australian ninja warrior, barefoot water skier, and natural bodybuilder. So today we're going to be talking with him about superhero powers for dads. I know this is a hot topic as all the dads out there are kind of rewriting what it means to show up fully in full autonomy with spouses, with children. So I'm really excited to have him on the show to talk about this hot topic. Jarrod, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tonya. Very great to be here with you today.
Oh, very cool, very cool. Well, we're going to jump in and ask, what are your superpowers?
Well, I think in that bio you've talked about barefoot water skiing. I think being able to walk on water is a pretty good superpower.
I agree.
But look, from a business perspective, I think I have the ability to really push the boundaries of what's possible, and I guess step out as a leader and a visionary. Always wanted to, I guess, unite humanity, find a way to bring people together and really help in the best possible ways, and that's what the Super Dads is for me. It's my legacy, my mission, and my vision for dads to really get the education, support, and accountability they need to up their game and move to the next level.
Oh, beautiful. So how did all of that come about?
2016, was really struggling as a dad, just under the pressures of it all. And I found that there really wasn't a lot out there to support dads. When I went in search, I found that there was a group called the Men's Shed that was basically getting together a bunch of old guys doing woodwork, and I thought, that's not really for me. So I started to look at what was available online, and really just from there thought, okay, what are the skills that dads need? What are the most important things? And so I put together, it was improving their mindset, their stress management, their time management, their budgeting and finance, their exercise and nutrition, and dealing with any addictions and compulsions that have become a part of their life, so that they really can be a real life super dad to their family. So I got together with a number of experts, a counsellor with 25 years experience, a hypnotherapist and DiMartini method specialist, and a client of mine who was a family accountant. And I did the nutrition and exercise component, and we put this together and ran this program online for dads, and started up a Facebook group, which has now grown to over 16,000 followers, and decided I wanted to bring everything together. So I've now created the Super Dad app, and I'm pretty excited to kind of have taught myself to develop my own app and websites and all that sort of stuff. Being a personal trainer for 15 years, that was certainly a new territory to move into.
I love that you're talking about that. We'll get back to the dad thing in a second, but I really love that you are open about, building some of those components for yourself for the business. My husband, Justin, and I often advise companies, it's like, especially if you're just starting out, like there is a lot to be said in building things brick by brick and understanding the components. Because even if you're building a team, the biggest risk we see to businesses in the corporate counterintelligence side of the house is the fact that when people bring on team members or try to outsource something, they have no clue what goes into it. So they can't really ask the right questions. They can't really hold people accountable. They don't really know what to expect, and they kind of abdicate to someone. So I love the fact that you were willing to do that for yourself. In my opinion, it really does change how you do your business.
Oh, and I absolutely agree. And look, in terms of teaching myself those skills, it was an exciting and frustrating time. And yet at the same time, it's really great that now I have those skills and can begin to delegate out the things that I no longer want to do.
Absolutely. And you can guide that process. So you're able to manage the outsourcing. So let's go back to the dad thing. What is it that you think is what's leading to some of the confusion and some of the reinterpretation and perhaps reinvention of dad and what that means? What's leading to some of that these days?
Well, I guess if we look at our society, things have certainly changed since the olden days where women did so much around the house. I mean, dads are really forced to step up in order to sustain a healthy relationship with their partner, for starters. I think women expect more of the men and more presence in the family. You know, we can no longer get away with not changing dirty nappies or getting up to the kid or, just, I guess, being well and truly, a present dad, in that relationship. And dads really expect a lot more of themselves. Look, I think that when it all comes down to it, we have as dads, maybe a little bit more than mums, a bit of a an inclination towards that, super dad or superman sort of idea for ourselves. We really want our kids to look up to us as real life superheroes. I know I do. For me, it's about surrounding myself with dads that, support me and assist me to, get to that next level as a dad and really sort of show up as the best version of myself to my family and deal with the stress and the pressures of life better.
I like that. And I like that you're willing to give voice to the fact that, perhaps things are changing. And I often go round and round about that. Like, as we change within ourselves, we see the environment change. So how can we really know if times are changing? But the consensus seems to be that, this feels different. We're working on more integrative concepts within marriages, within parenting situations. And I think on a lot of level, our kids are demanding something different from us. I know our experience with Neva is it was like, either we were going to keep up with her or we were going to stifle it. And so it was really a conscious choice on our part to kind of pick that ball up and run with it. And it wasn't, it wasn't typical. At least it kind of challenged us in ways that we never anticipated. But it's creating this really amazing relationship and amazing opportunities for her.
Absolutely. And as we spoke about at the beginning before the interview, what your daughter's doing online now, and also what my daughters are being exposed to, it's taking them light years ahead. They're no longer happy just out in the playground. They really want to be, educating themselves, and they're just being exposed to so much more online now. So, yeah, they're definitely getting very smart very quickly with technology.
Well, and it's interesting because I know there's a lot of scrutiny about that. And it's, Neva got her first iPad when she was 2. And the reason for that, like if you had asked me when she was about a year and a half, there's no way that would have been in my purview. But Justin went to Afghanistan for about 6 months, and we had just started the corporate counterintelligence firm, and we were building that up. And it got to the point where it was impossible for me to, have business meetings and whatnot, because she was getting to the age where she wasn't just going to sit quietly in the corner, And so either it was put her in daycare or figure out a way to provide her something so that she could attend meetings with me. And, we went back and forth about it. But what that did in getting her that is that how technologically savvy she is, just she'll say something. I'm like, where did you find out about that? Where did you learn that? She'll say, oh, it's this app, or, or I watched it on YouTube, or I Googled it, or what. Like, it's the self-sufficiency is so much greater than I remember being at that age. And so I know, maybe I'm not remembering correctly. I don't know, but I would imagine that If I were to query my parents, that's what they would say. And the not only that, but the connectivity, knowing that you can connect with people through social media around the world. And, so it's really creating this, in my opinion, this really cool ripple effect that hugely outweighs all of the naysayers about the evils of technology. Now, of course, everything in balance, right? And so if I had any indicator that she was somehow not socialized, or that she couldn't carry on a conversation, or or put down the device, or anything like that, that would be an issue. But that never came up with her, and so maybe we're fortunate. But I do see huge advantages. Plus, she has the balance of a lot of exposure to highly aware, highly spiritual, highly guided people, to also keep that consciousness kind of spiritual growth perspective in check as well. And so I think I can see where the environment plays a huge role in it. But I'm seeing the same thing you are. I don't see a downside to it.
Look, if we don't keep our kids up with where things are going technological wise, and really keep our finger on the pulse to, I guess, support that, then we're missing out on a great opportunity to prepare our kids for the future, I believe. And you're right, it's absolutely about balance. I mean, we're an extremely active family, but the kids also really enjoy their downtime and their entertainment and learning on their iPads as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we homeschool, so it's become an amazing tool for that. But let's go back to the dad thing for a second, because we talked before the show about kind of this big vision about families and kids and parents and dads and everything else, and I loved what you said about getting super specific about your niche. And I know that that's one of the biggest challenges for those of us who are tapped in and kind of see a big vision and everything else. Can you talk to us about what that process was like for you, making the decision to hyper focus on dads first? Obviously expansion is always possible, but what was that decision like for you to kind of let go of that huge, bigger, not let go of it, but maybe set that over to the side for a second while you built up a really strong foundation around the dad concept?
Yeah, well, look, what I was talking about with you was, initially the vision was, helping families, super families online. And then for me, I guess I really asked the question of myself, who is it that I'm most qualified and most resonate with and understand the greatest? And obviously it was dads, who are just struggling to juggle it all, want to improve themselves as a dad, partner, provider, and man for their families. And for me, I came up with this, with this philosophy that being a super dad is not about being perfect. It's about having a growth mindset and striving to become the very best version of ourselves. And I know that, in our society, there's a lot of dads who are stuck. They are willing to complain about their problems, but not step up and do something about it. So what I really found and find is happening with the super dads is just that concept of what it means to be a super dad immediately makes people question the action that they're taking in their life to overcome their challenges. And for me, it's really about flicking that switch, or just assisting them to get the support, the inspiration, and the encouragement that they need to make those changes. So, when it comes to niching down into dads, it was a no-brainer because I really want to work with dads like me that have that growth mindset and, are just really striving to show up as their best selves in this world.
That's really powerful. Well, we're going to take a quick break. You've been listening to Super Power Up Podcast. We're talking with Jarrod L'Estrange today about superhero powers for dads. Jarrod, before we do that, where can people go to find out more about you?
So I've actually launched an app for dads. It's the app that every dad needs, and it's at www.thesuperdadapp.com. and it combines everything that we've put together in the last year and a half. It's a social network, a directory of businesses and services, and an online university exclusively for dads.
Very cool. We're going to take a short break. Stick with us, because when we come back, we're going to talk about how you as a parent or as a father specifically can start making some really powerful changes in your life and in your family today. Stay with us.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/the-net to learn more.
We're back. You're listening to the Superpower Up podcast. We're talking with Jarrod L'Estrange today about superhero powers for dads. So Jarrod, let's name three. What do you think are the three greatest kind of superhero powers that dads can work on honing to assist their families and their own lives?
Absolutely. Okay, I think the very first one is a super dad mission and mindset. And that is getting really clear on where you're going as an individual and where you want to take your family, what experiences you want to give them moving forward, and how you want to show up in this world. And, really developing that mindset that rather than talk down to yourself, rather than come from a scarcity mindset, you really are empowering yourself and being your best friend for starters. And I think the second one is living an active lifestyle, being an active family, really being the best role model you can be when it comes to healthy habits. And third one would be, I guess, showing up as a patient and present father and partner. There's way too many families that are breaking down these days, and I think a lot of it is that we just get stagnant. We don't put enough effort into into our marriages, into our relationships, and I guess communicating effectively or learning to communicate better with our partner and our kids. When it all comes down to it, there's no manual when it comes to being a parent, and a lot of dads have not had the upbringing to immediately step into that role. And, there might be some learning that needs to happen in order for them to improve on the skills that their parents have given them, the influence that their parents have had. And, with a lot of broken marriages, there's obviously dads who have come from really terrible upbringings that have really stepped up as dads. There's dads that have had a great upbringing, and they've immediately got those good influences in their life that they've had growing up. There's just such a mixture of challenges for dads when they initially sort of step into the role as a parent. And they're my three. I think it's probably improving our mindset, being a great healthy role model, and improving our skills as a dad, partner, provider, and man.
So I can't imagine that anybody listening would disagree with that. I think those are three pretty compelling concepts. But what is it that keeps people from really stepping into that?
I think it's just people get stuck. I think that the problems that dads are facing out there in our society. I mean, especially with things like custody battles and falling into, drug and alcohol addictions to cope with some of the stress and anxiety that they're experiencing in their life. Just not having the amount of support that mums have, or not communicating effectively with their friends and reaching out for support when they need it, struggling silently with depression. I think it's just important for dads to finally realise that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to have these struggles and these challenges as a dad and a partner. And, coming together as a group, we've seen dads that have lost, up to 20 kilo. They've saved their marriages. They have overcome depression. They have got the help they need to, overcome some pretty debilitating, mental health and addictions in their lives. So, these days, with the internet being what it is, we've been able to connect dads from all walks of life and all corners of the globe, and that's really helped to give other dads perspective and insight and inspiration and support when they need it. And now for us, it's about connecting dads in person, and we've run some retreats and some meetups. And now I guess for me, it's about finding those leaders in areas throughout our world that can really connect dads together in person and get active with their families and really be there for each other.
Well, I think part of it is that part of the culture of being a man before didn't really lend itself to reaching out and asking for support and even talking about it in any way, even to the extent that I think that it stifled internal communication. So the perception would have been, oh, I'm fine, because you are like, and on some level you're always fine. But once you start opening up to that dialogue, you realize like there was a lot of aspects of you that you weren't giving voice to and that you weren't able to kind of tap into. And I don't know if it was always this way, but at least for the last, decade or so, well, actually probably 4 or 5 decades, it's been more acceptable for women to kind of do that. Actually, that's probably been forever. That's kind of just part of us. There's all kinds of stereotypes and biases around that, but ultimately women tend to kind of gather and talk more together, and it just wasn't done. I think perhaps in cultures past, but in modern cultures and more first world cultures, if you will, it just wasn't acceptable. That kind of staunch individualism took hold of what we perceive to be the masculine role, and to a large extent, in my opinion, led to some detrimental things. And so separation and kind of that every man is an island unto himself concept. And so I love what you're talking about, because it really starts to break down that mythology around you have to do it all alone. And ultimately, I think anymore, our bias, especially superpower experts, we're built on collaboration, is the idea that you can't do it alone. Like, it's virtually impossible. Like, you can maybe take your life so far, but ultimately you're going to look up one day and realize that you're limited in that capacity. And so bringing people together and kind of communing in that regard, I think, is a really huge step forward. What advice do you have for men who don't have that? Obviously there's a lot of different things cropping up, but even to get to the point where you're willing to say, perhaps I should seek this out. Like, how do people even get to that place?
Well, I think the first thing is just realizing that you're not alone. The struggles that you're facing in your life are experienced by so many dads out there. And just being able to talk to another dad that is going through the same thing or has been through that and is out the other side. And I just think that's just absolutely key. You're absolutely right. We're brought up so much of the time to think that, we need to be a man and we're not allowed to cry. And I think that it's changing in that nowadays it is okay to, speak up about the problems that we're facing, and it's not a bad thing to, to show emotion. We need to show emotion with our kids. We need to, we need to be our genuine selves and not lie about what's going on inside us. And so I guess I just encourage the dads to be part of something like what we've created with the Super Dads, because it does allow you to gain that insight and perspective and, support that you need in a safe environment where, you just realise that you're not alone. I think that's the most important thing is just, realising that your problems are problems of other dads as well, other men, and that it feels good to talk about it.
I love that. Yeah, we're seeing the exact same thing over here at Superpower Experts. My husband runs a men's group, and it is identical. And ironically, that's a lot of the same language that Neva uses with regard to kids who want to do business. You're not alone. And I think across the board, it's like when you can join together and say, oh, wait, you too? You've experienced that too. It just starts to break down this idea of privacy and that everything's personal, not privacy in the sense that you can't have your own kind of sanctuary within yourself, but privacy, thinking that, you have all these embarrassing secrets and all this like stuff that you're going through and you have to keep that hidden. I do find that there's value for all different groups, however you relate, to say, it's not just you. And in recognizing that it does serve an aspect of the ego to make up the story that it is just you, because it keeps you separate from everybody else. Jarrod, I love what you're talking about. I think connection is always the key. So I appreciate the fact that you're doing that with dads. Let's remind people again where they can find out more about you. Yeah,
so www.thesuperdadapp.com. The best thing they can do is actually get onto the app. We have such a booming community in there. All the education content is for free within there. And, we've got support services for dads. We've got a 24/7, help directory where if dads, and we've seen this in our group, if dads are going through, experiencing suicidal thoughts or, really just struggling, there are, the contact numbers for support services, 24/7 support services worldwide that they can connect with.
Oh, that's amazing. I really honor the work that you're doing in the world. I think it's very important for those of you out there listening. Make sure that, if you know that you could use some support and some guidance in this arena, check out what Jarrod's talking about. I think it's a powerful process, and I love the fact that you're bringing folks together. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tonya.
Oh, absolutely. And to all of you out there, as always, we appreciate your loyalty. And until next time, go out, uncover your superpowers, and change the world. Take care, everyone.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and discover your superpowers today.